tarot cards are often the first step and basis for a seeker of metaphysical knowledge, like you, to discover your forever path. That could be astrology, numerology, healing arts, or any other spiritual interest you discover along the way. Elaine Ireland is not only a teacher of tarot, she is a mentor who supports you and will be there for you. Visit www.elaineIrelandtarotmaster.com now and discover how Elaine's mentoring, tarot card and psychic readings, tarot card classes, and more help you to grow into the true being you are meant to be. Welcome to Conversations with the Ancients, where you're about to discover a whole different world than the one that, up until now, you've believed you're familiar with. World-renowned metaphysicist, practicing psychic and tarot teacher Elaine Ireland invites you on a journey where you'll hear voices from the past, interviews with some of the greatest metaphysicians you've never heard of, because in their time, they needed to move with stealth. You'll also meet today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who will show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Be sure you visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, hear the words of metaphysicians who blazed the trail. You're not in jail, thanks to them.
Hello, folks. This is Elaine Ireland with Conversation with the Ancients. This is Diane Parma, P-A-R-M-A. It gets confused sometimes. People want to insist on saying her name Palmer, but that's not it at all. No. Diane, welcome to the show, Diane. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
I appreciate being invited to this because this is so fun.
It is fun. I've had a lot of fun over the last 4 months or so doing these recordings and conversations. I don't like to call them interviews. That sounds so formal. I'd rather we just pretend we're around my dining room table with coffee, tea, champagne, whatever interests us at the moment, and just talking about and to one another. And let me tell the public that, first of all, I've known Diane for, my God, Diane, 30 years?
At least.
At least 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been able to watch each other grow into the metaphysicians that we are today. I love Diane's background. Well, she's going to tell us all about that in a moment, but she's so diverse in what she is interested in and the professions that she has had up to this point in her life. And she manages to weave them in and put them under numerology, which is her first love, right? Your first love?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then give back to the public, her clients, with all these many years of experience. She is one of our ancients, although in body she certainly isn't. She's this little bitty, curvy spitfire of a lady that just lights up a room. I know that sounds kind of cliche-ish, but when she walks in, she's there. So she does all of this other stuff in a very calm, but yet she has this calmness about her while she shares all of who she is with the public. She has an excellent reputation, and I hope by the end of our conversation today you will reach out to her and get to enjoy her essence. It's just wonderful. Diane, where did you start with all of this? What is your cultural background? How did you start, and what did you start with?
As a very young girl, paleontology and shells have always been my forte since I was little and found the first snail in the backyard. Then it was like I had to take it everywhere I went, and forget about dolls. I took my seashells everywhere I went. And then there was just curiosity about numerology, palmistry. Back then, they used to sell these little books at the grocery store for $0.25. And it was on palmistry and numerology and astrology. And I had a little bitty collection of those books for $0.25. And it was more just curiosity. more than anything else. I was extremely shy. You wouldn't know it now, but back then I was extremely shy and lived in my own world. And people kind of sensed or knew things that I wasn't aware of, how sensitive and how I would pick up stuff. I didn't get it, but they did, people around me did. So that's kind of how it kind of developed. It was just plain curiosity.
Were any of your family members metaphysicians or leaning towards the spiritual side?
No, I had an uncle that is or was, his family owned businesses, and he grew up with his mother and father always saying that when you get a business, when you grow up and you get your own business, you're going to have to find a counselor. And what they meant by counselor was a reader. And he went to, and he's passed now, but he was, my Aunt Irma's youngest, the youngest in the family of aunts, and it was her husband, and so he used to carry me around in diapers and what have you, and he went to reader, and to the point that by the time I grew up and was curious about stuff, he was pissed about it, because he said they were all nothing but fakes and there was nobody out there. And because he would try to go to different readers, like his mother and father suggested, but he was never satisfied, never happy, to the point that he hated all things that dealt with readers. And he heard me in the back seat with my cousins, his kids, and I go, oh, and we're just talking in the back seat, and I go, oh, you wanted to be a nun? And then my cousin's like, what are you talking about? How'd you know I always wanted to be a nun? I said, I don't know. And I just started talking, and then my uncle's like, what the heck are you girls talking about? And he got kind of annoyed with what I did, because I would know stuff, and it kind of annoyed him. He's like, why are you doing that? What purpose does it have? Which made me think, yeah, what purpose does it have? And that got me thinking, it has to have purpose, or why am I doing it? And I'd put it away because, like I said, my study of oceanography was way more important, being by the ocean and studying all I could about, shells and mythology. And I had to know every freaking affair that Poseidon had. And I had a list of two pages of names of, and then how, Venus came into being, it was his blood, that poured out into the ocean that created Venus. And I just went on, and nobody cared. And nobody cared what kind of radula different snails had, it was like, but it was my love. And then all of a sudden, people are like, do you realize you're doing this, that, and the other? And I'm going, huh? And I didn't know why people kept coming to me, because I was sheltered. But apparently I had some kind of, messages that really made a difference in people's lives. And I just kind of like didn't really listen to myself or why it was happening or anything. I just went on through life. Okay, I'm into martial arts now, and and Fred Astaire, and I didn't have time for anything else, and kept getting pulled back. Do you realize you're doing feng shui? I said, what the heck is feng shui? And they said, well, look at your desk, and you're mad at this clock because it doesn't want to be there, because that's not where it's supposed to be according to feng shui. And I said, what the heck is feng shui? And that's when I learned I was doing feng shui, and I didn't even know it. And just little things that just kept happening over and over. And I grew up in the diamond industry, so GI certified, in diamonds, and there was nothing I couldn't do in the diamond industry. And I was well known and sought out for the knowledge that I had as far as jewelry industry went. And I started spooking some of my clients because, the customers that would come in, if we were swamped and I had to get as many people in as possible, and I could get them through the door. I could make the sale. I could fill out the applications. I could get the approvals. I could gift wrap it. I could engrave it. I could size the ring if I had to, design a ring, whatever. And sometimes we'd get so swamped that I didn't have time to ask a bunch of questions. I would just start filling out applications and asking for, what did you say the last name was? I didn't even tell you the first name. How'd you know the first name? And I'm like, you told me. I would just lie. And, other people around me would say, how did you know that? They didn't say anything. You didn't, how did you know? I don't know. I'm just in a hurry. I got to get this repair out of here. And took in a man's watch, and I was like, okay, what's your neighbor's first name? And he said, how did you know it was my neighbor's watch? And I don't know. I'm holding onto the watch. I'm filling it out. And I'm like, tell me your neighbor's name. And he says, I didn't tell you that was my neighbor's. How did you know? Little stuff like that, that was constantly happening, or me saying verbatim what somebody told a salesperson, and I wasn't even in the room, and just, I just started going with it because it was crazy.
I want to back up a minute. When you were starting with the shells and the ocean and the gods and the goddesses, did you feel like you belonged there? Or was it a curiosity that you didn't get to settle in a past life?
I have a stellium in my 5th house. I've got 5, stelliums are usually 3 planets. I have 5 in the 5th house, which is that of childlike curiosity. And so that desire for curiosity, and then I have strong 5s in my chart. 5s are usually short, full-figured, curious souls. And
you just described yourself, people.
Yeah. And so, with these strong 5s in my chart, numerology chart, and the 5 planets in the 5th house, it was just strong curiosity about everything. Why is
some point you didn't feel like you were picking up where you left off, like with the sun or anything like that, or maybe something you were denied in a past life?
I just felt like I didn't belong in this time frame.
There you go. Now maybe I was asking the wrong question. There we go.
I wasn't in this time frame because I have a strong pull to the 1800s, and everything to do with war. I love my sword. I love, working with a, bow staff and screamer sticks, weapons. I love weapons. And my original last name is Guerrero, which means warrior, and I just always, but I also am extremely girly girl. I mean, I love stockings and, accessories galore, which is a normal 5 energy. And I just love being a girl, but I love the male energy as well,
You sound like one of those beautifully balanced souls, and it can be just the opposite. You can be male, but at the same time you enjoy looking nice and smelling good, but yet at the same time your hand can be like a hammer.
Yeah, I like to kick butt if I can get away with it.
Well, yeah, you're a black belt, aren't you?
No, I kept having to get out and then get back in and get out. And so, I just went up to purple belt. I had to fight 3 black belts to get it though, which really kicked my butt. And at my age, I thought, it's time to go back to dancing again.
Dancing can be a form of warrior wear. Trust me.
Yes. I mean, I'm 68 and and most of my dance partners are in their 40s because I do like to be thrown and slide between their legs and thrown into a princess, dip, which is my head is straight down and my legs are straight up, and and most like one guy, he's 50, he's 46, and his dance partner or his wife wouldn't do some of the stunts that he liked to do when he would dance, so I would do it.
When I was dancing, I grew up in a professional household of dance as well, a lot of ballroom dancing, and I never liked that, and took ballet from the time I was like 4 until I was pregnant with my first child. Literally, I would go up to the studio for exercise sake. I never liked that throwing stuff. Never. I don't know why. It's just
Yeah.
I
do if the guys are big and strong, and I'm kind of small. I'm a lot bigger than I used to be. But yeah, I would do an iron cross and stand up on their shoulders and be flipped down until I came down into a curtsy by 6 guys.
Nope, not my thing. I'm glad you did it. And
Yeah.
I've never seen you do it, but I bet you were just absolutely flawless.
It was fun. It was more for the excitement and the fun of it,
The most slinging that I got done was what they call World War II jitterbug, where
Oh,
you know,
yes.
that's about the only slinging I got involved with.
Yes. There's a great roll over their shoulder or
Yeah.
their back. And yeah, I used to do that. Yeah.
That was it. Another thing we have in common are swords and knives. I've always had a thing about knives.
Really?
Think back in the 60s,
Uh-huh.
where what did they call the knives that popped out? Switchblades.
Switchblade. Mhm.
Switchblades. That was the only knife that I got really comfortable with. And of course the guys would throw it like an axe,
Yes.
And I don't particularly care about axes, but after school there was a field behind the high school, and a lot of us we were in activities that school got out. We had about an hour, and then we had to go do whatever we were doing, whether it was their football practice or cheerleader practice or, whatever it was. And in that hour or so, we would go out in the field and somebody would draw a circle and we would throw the switchblades.
Oh, wow.
And I could keep up with the best of them. I was one of 2 girls. I have no idea where that talent came from. No.
Yeah.
Today, no. But I've
Yeah.
always when I've gone to gun and knife shows, I have always searched for the pretty ceremonial sword stuff
Oh, yes.
and things that have historical value. I even went to an auction, a museum type auction back in my 30s, and I so wished I was a millionaire.
Oh,
With a big, beautiful home that I could just hang these suckers on the wall. They were just, I would look at them like they were old friends.
uh-huh.
Yes.
Like
If I don't take you home, nobody's going to appreciate you because they don't get the history behind. That's how I felt about them. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you'll have to do my chart someday, girl.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I also liked bow and arrow.
Oh, I was on the team in high school, the arrow team.
Oh, that's amazing. I wasn't the best at it, but I still enjoyed it.
They said that's what made me a good dart player.
Ah, nice.
I came in as a ringer one time. My ex was on a dart team that just took his mind off of the business that we had at the time, and somebody didn't show up. Well, that meant that his team was going to forfeit that competition, and the club that he was part of, they really wanted to they were trying to get to state. They'd never been to state, real close. And he looked at me and he said, "Get up there. You don't have to do anything. Just throw the dart. That's all you have to do. Just throw the dart." And I said, "I don't want to make an ass out of your team." He said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just throw the dart. You just had to have somebody on the team." First time up, I hit the bullseye.
Wow, nice.
Not his team members were gonna. They said, why aren't you? I said, I didn't know I could do that. That's the first time I'd ever picked up a dart. I did that 4 times in a row, and the other team was accusing them of me being a ringer.
Oh my goodness.
I was not. Anything with a sharp tip, I must have been pretty good at in some past life.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
not
sure. Yeah.
So anyway, so you're not still slinging swords, are you?
I have my sword. I love cleaning it. I have a little bitty condo now. There's really nowhere for me to work with it, but I would love to do it again, because it's been
What did you do with the sword? What did you do? Why
on
did
my
you get the
wall.
sword? But why did you have the sword? Why do you have the sword to begin with?
Uh, one of there was a black belt that he was kind of interested in me, and we went out once or twice, and he gifted me the sword.
And then you used it for
I did the movements, the Tai Chi movements with the sword.
ooh, I bet that was pretty.
Yeah. It's really gorgeous to watch, and to do all the movements. It's nice.
Those ceremonial uses of weapons, guns, whatever, are we see it today more in parades and such than competitions, but they're just beautiful. Unless you're in the world of Tai Chi or
Yeah.
something like that, where that that's going to happen. But the general public, we just don't see as much of it as we used to in the 60s and 70s.
No.
And I think that's sad. Did you ever use it in ritualistic work?
No. And yet I've had some very vivid dreams of being a druid with a sword, you know, which was really crazy because I didn't own a sword at the time, but I've always been drawn to them. And that dream was so freaking vivid. I could even smell myself. I was like, oh my God.
Dreaming about druids, that would be a wonderful way of adding to the history, because there's so little history known about druids.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, there's a lot of information out there. I do love to read runes. In fact, sometimes I'll read a name runically, because it's so easy. And I just think the runes are beautiful, and they're everywhere you look. I mean, you can go for a walk in the park, and the way the branches might hit the ground, if you look really carefully, you can see the runes everywhere.
For those of the public that do not know what a rune is, would you explain it in your words, what a rune is for them?
Yeah, they're the ABCs actually, and they're druid lettering, and like Radu, it looks like the letter R, only it's very sharp, pointed. It's not rounded like an R would be. It's straight and pointed.
Yes.
And Radu is a spiritual journey or an actual journey. It could be a journey through dreams. And depending on which letter is vibrating in your name, that R might be vibrating under the physical transit, or the mental or the spiritual transit. And so depending on where that rune is or that letter is in your name, I'll sometimes read it runically, like, oh, it's on the spiritual level, so you're going on a spiritual journey, something of that extent, or mentally you're learning so much, and you're getting all this information, through that journey, that physical journey you're taking. And yeah, it's kind of like that.
What's a transit?
A transit are the different letters that are vibrating at different times within the first, middle, and last name, and the way they line up when you add them straight down gives you a transit. And those transits are kind of like an undercurrent feeling, because you have a personal year, and then you have a personal day, a personal month, a personal hour, and then of course that comes from the universal, year, and then the letters that are vibrating within your name is
now you're doing numerology.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's numerology.
We kind of shifted from runes to numerology, people.
Well, yeah. Well, because it's all interconnected. That's why I can't help but blend. Yeah, I can even read it as a tarot deck, So it's real easy to switch it from a rune to a tarot deck or to, everything is just interconnected. It's kind of hard not to see the connection.
Yeah, I don't do runes, but I've always admired them. I've looked at runes in the past as something I should not get involved with. I don't know why. Never really examined it, but it is an alphabet.
Yes.
Rune stones as a group, they are a language within themselves. I know that, but I do not know the meaning of the runes very well enough, not anywhere near enough to use them. But I've always thought they were a beautiful piece of art, whoever put them together. There's the history of them being the Nordic alphabet created by Thor, which translates to the Fool card, not the Fool card, the Hangman, because in the Nordic history, that is Thor hanging upside down, and part of his saving grace was giving language.
What?
And the expression of language. So that's how runes, in one way, connect to the tarot cards.
Yes. So he literally was hung over the tree was over the water, and he looked deep within, and that's when he turned everything around. Instead of looking at the mirror top of the water that just is a reflection, he looked below to find the runes.
There you go. See, so it's every time I see that card, all the cards, but the major cards particularly are, even though there may not be many signs or colors on them, they are so rich with history that if you don't study the history of the cards, you're not going to get the full meaning and assigned texture to the tarot cards. And runes and numerology and astrology and color therapy are so intertwined, in especially the major arcana cards. And yes, the Hangman is one of the cards that expresses communication. But yet when you look at it, you don't realize it.
Yes.
You don't. Well, it just looks like somebody hanging upside down.
Yes. No, because he sees things differently from the rest of the world. He's able to go deeper.
See, people, how I snuck in there to get her to talk more.
It's easy. I love to talk.
You're a good teacher there. Are you teaching anything at all on Zoom or in person? Do you have time?
I do classes. I started doing them this year at the Eagle's Nest, and so I helped everybody do their calendar for the year so they know what personal year they were under, and went over the Chinese year and the 9 vibration universal year. And I'm like, well, here we are with a snake, and what do? They shed their skin. Here we are on a 9 universal year, which is releasing and letting go of everything that is, not for our highest good anymore. And so I kind of blended that and then explained what their personal year was, and how it will impact them throughout the year, and then how to find their challenges and their stepping stones for each quarter and their lesson for the year. But February the 8th, I'm going to do a class on love in the numbers, and how each number vibrates and what they like. Like 3's like pillow talk and playfulness, and 5's, it's all about the senses, and very sexual and very, and then I'll throw in a little bit of palmistry, since we're holding each other's hands. It's going to be fun to hold your lover's hand and then kind of look into the hand and the palm and see how you're connected with that person. Are your headlines matched up, or your And so I'll just kind of throw a little palmistry in there. Now, the way I do palmistry isn't like a normal palmistry person. I wanted to study it, but then I was like, oh, this seems like complicated. I'm looking at all these lines. I'm like, what? And then I heard, I read one sentence and that's all it took. And after that, I didn't have to learn it or look at a hand ever again. But they're electrical impulses from the brain. So I'm like, well, heck, if a person has a lot of sixes in their charts and they're heavy in that need to heal and to take care of others, they're going to have stigmata lines under the pinky. Duh. And sure enough, every time I looked under the pinky, there was a bunch of little fine lines right under the pinky, So that's the healer. And they've got all these sixes. I'm like, hello. Oh, their archangel happens to be Raphael. So hello again. They were born in the Bagua under Mother Earth in the southeast direction. Again, a healer. So it's just like, it just all interconnected so well that I really don't have to look at the hand to see where the lines are. I know what lines are there because that's the way you think.
You have me looking at my fingers. My pinkies.
You're going to have a lot of fine lines, and you will probably have a very long headline, which is that second line, biggest line underneath. It's very long, and if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of close to the bottom of the Venus palm, the palm of Venus, and that's because you can reach into past lives. Do you see how long that headline is?
It's very long.
Yeah, and it touches almost down to the bottom of that real puffy part by the wrist.
It goes under it, but there's a crack. There's a crack. It goes under it all the way to a blood vein.
Yes. That's because you can tap into past lives very easily, and that's where that mind goes. You also have another little crease in that line. Now, not to get them mixed up, there's two creases. One crease is because of oversensitivity to foods and medications or all that kind of stuff, and you can't handle them. So there's that line. But then there's another line that kind of creases and curves up a little bit, and that's your intuitive line that you have in your hand as well.
And it's deep.
Yes. Mm-hmm. See, I don't have to see your hand. I know it's there. So
you referred to Eagle's Nest. There is a shop in San Antonio, Texas. That's where Diane lives, in the San Antonio area. And the Eagle's Nest is also the name of a metaphysical fair that the producer of the fair and the owner of Eagle's Nest produces in San Antonio. I think in 2 different locations still. Does she still do that?
She does Pat Booker. It's at a hotel at Pat Booker. And the other one, she actually does the second fair, because she does 2 a month, is at her actual store, which is on Bassey Road. 1235 Bassey Road on 11.
I forget which one is Pat Booker. Was that the smaller or the larger of the ballrooms?
That's the larger. That's the larger ballrooms.
Yeah. I did those fairs for about 2 years off and on.
Yes. Yeah.
But stopped when COVID.
Yeah.
And everything stopped. Everything stopped.
I hear you.
Yeah. So you're teaching at her store.
Yes.
And you're doing the fair in San Antonio.
Yes, I just do the one at her store. I you wouldn't know it. I'm extroverted, but I'm also very introverted. And so most of my clients just word of mouth. So that's how I got Saudi Arabia, Germany, Switzerland, Scotland. It's just word of mouth, because I'm not very tech savvy, as you know.
I'm not either, honey. I promise you I'm not. I lean on other people. If something goes wrong with the computer, I'll pick up the phone. I have 1 of 3 people get help.
Yes.
And I certainly did not develop this podcast. A wonderful man out of Las Vegas has the company who has created this podcast and is in the process of creating my tarot educational site. So Adam Homey is his name. And I don't even know the name of the company. I don't. My goodness, but he's been doing this forever and ever and ever. He and his crew, and anything goes wrong, he's one of the people that if it's really, really bad, that's who I call. I call Adam, help. But if it's not, and it's not that bad, I jokingly told Kramer the other day, I said, I just keep pushing buttons until something good happens.
I hit a button and everything falls apart. I'm like, oh no.
Well, Kramer made the mistake of telling me many, 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 many years ago. I'm referring to Kramer Wetzel, folks, astrologer extraordinaire.
Yes.
He told me a long time ago, honey, you're not going to break the computer. It won't break. And I'm looking at a black screen. And I said, this was before Zoom. And I said, Kramer, my screen is black. He said, uh-oh.
Hello.
Darn. But he backed me out of it. So anyway, so I really didn't break the computer, but it sure scared me. Anyway.
Oh,
but
God.
what if you could, if Spirit said, okay, Diane, you can only use one tool, what would it be?
I guess numerology, but my mind won't do just one. I've got a Virgo mind.
Okay, no, wait, I'm going to stop you right there. Okay. Your mind won't let you do just one. I mean, we could make ourselves, I'm the same way with tarot, but like you, I also weave other things in.
Yes.
Even though I'm not an expert, I still manage to weave other things in. But, so you could, because you also have, I suspect, not recessed, we'll call it that, information numerologically that you would reach for if you couldn't reach to something else or use it. Am I right? That lost or hidden information or information you don't think you need to put in now because you can rely on something else.
Yeah, my intuition. I mean, it's doing all the different modalities that I do. It's putting a toy in my conscious mind so that way my subconscious mind can do what it needs to do.
See what she just said? Her subconscious mind, folks.
Yeah.
One of the things, the attention that I want to bring our listeners to right now is that as practitioners, and that's why we call ourselves practicing psychics, most of us agree that everybody has a psychic ability. Now, how you use it is up to you, or whatever your agreement was before you came back, believing in past lives. But we do this work on purpose. So we are practicing. But like practicing medicine, we continue to grow. We don't just decide one day to read 5 books and become a professional psychic. We just don't. It's yes, we may read books. Diane and I were talking earlier about that. She said, I haven't read a book in years and years and years. Well, she doesn't need to at this point, because she has enough subconscious information that not only has been developed and remembered here in this lifetime, she has past life energy that she can pull from as well, like most practitioners in our world do today. So, listener, if you are out there trying to figure out what's going on, 9 times out of 10, you're not going crazy unless you forgot to take your meds that you're supposed to be taking, or I'm being sarcastic. But for the most part, no. Use what you've got, put it to use, rely on it to some degree. If it does bother you in a medical sense, sure, have yourself checked. But at the same time, don't be afraid of your natural abilities. Natural abilities.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, keep going.
Yeah. I've got where I was now.
We were talking about only one thing you could use with numerology. And the point I was trying to make to people is not everybody weaves 5 or 6 different subjects together. They're a card reader, an astrologer, a numerologist, a Reiki master, that's it. Mm-hmm. And they're okay with that. They're fine with that. But there are people like Diane that weave a multitude of things into a reading, and sometimes we don't even know we're doing it. It's just
it's
so easy chakra.
It's each modality is a different window that I look through that shows me a little bit more of the picture that's inside the person. And it's kind of hard to, oh, I'm Pisces. Oh, well, then you must be cougar from the Frog clan, which is equivalent to rabbit in Chinese, So it's easy sometimes to just have certain things that will pop in my head that I just can't help but blend, and just knowing that, it's kind of hard not to weave it in, I am a Libra, but like
Balance.
Kramer grew up. Are you sure you're not a Virgo? You're a Virgo, right? No, I'm a night chart, so I resonate with my moon, which is Virgo. My Mercury is Virgo, so I communicate like a Virgo. And so that Virgo is all about charts, all about, gathering more and more information. And it's like a big jigsaw puzzle, and you just putting all the pieces together. A lot of people like jigsaw puzzles, and that's kind of what it is, a giant jigsaw puzzle. As you're, filling in chakras and, knowing that chakras last every 7 years, it's easy to kind of, oh, what, you're 59? Oh, you're working with the solar plex. Oh, you're 40, you're working with the throat chakra, So it's just kind of hard not to know some things.
Okay, I'm 80. What am I working with?
You're working with the solar plex. And so that solar plex is mental, it's fire, it's the, as far as the chakra, it's the chakra and the energy that is 3 to 8 inches away from the body, and it resonates with 320 megahertz, so you can listen to 320 megahertz. You can use your creativity, because that is very creative, energy. And so, what do you want to give birth to? It is a fire energy, it's mental fire. And so what are you passionate about right now that you want to create and express and share?
And what am I doing? Podcast and a website.
Yep. That's because you're working with that solar plex right now.
Oh, plus on Leo, fire sign.
Yeah. And that, so solar plexus also, works with, in the Bagua, that would be the house of career. It is a Jupiter vibration. Ginger, rosemary is real good to boost confidence, and a ginger is real good for courage, promotes courage, as we're putting ourselves out there, with all this information that you're gathering, So.
I wish I had started this 20 years ago, but this podcast, literally, well, long before there was a podcast, I wrote books. One got published, and I thought, okay, that's the end of it. I'm not supposed to do that anymore. And I was told by a reader in Florida many, many years ago that I would be in my 60s before I really realized what I was responsible for. Well, I'd forgotten that, but it was in my 60s when the idea of doing radio work came to me. And a company found me, and I've done 3 radio shows over the years, call-in shows, that sort of thing. And did some radio work, some television work, that sort of thing. Anyway, that form of communication. And then when podcasts came up, they weren't really called podcasts. You had to do your own research and create your own station, and I just didn't have the time to do it. So, but this, I found my tapes. Some of my tapes went back to, and people, I mean, old-fashioned tapes, like you put in a little tape recorder and hit a button. Yes,
yes.
I kept all those things. The oldest one I found was November of 69.
Wow.
And then in the 70s, I found over 1,000 class tapes that were dated back to the 70s.
Wow.
So what's happening now with the podcast, and then again, the website, the educational tarot website, literally has been milling around in my head all those years. And it's just now happening because the tools, right tools are here.
Tools.
The right tools. And frankly, people like you that have been at this for a while. I mean, there's a reason why this is called Conversations with the Ancients. But when people look at the selection of people they can hear, they can hit a button and hear on your little card. When you get it, you'll see it is going to be the word ancient. But there are newbies that are coming up because someday we're going to, a whole generation will be standing on those newbies as ancients.
Yes.
And established and legends. Legends are already past. That's going to be a group of people we talk about.
Nice.
About those. But people like you that have been doing this for so long, others are standing on your shoulders. And I want the people to know that this is a process and we're human. And I want the public to know that we don't just turn this on and off. Well, we do, but we don't. But we lived it every day. Like your conversation tells me that you see all of this in your world every day, every minute. It's your way of living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of us are that way. Whether you're working with animals or humans, public, we're normal. We cry, we have babies, we get married, we grieve over losses. We're just like everybody else. We just choose to use what we've got. We have chosen. We came back here to do this. And some don't even get started until they're halfway alive later in life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it seems like you and I and many others that you and I both know, they grew up with it.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you add to your toolbox?
What would I add? As far as what I do?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I think I've got a lot of different things that I'm constantly, seeing how things more ways blended.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I had so much fun when I was at Nature's Treasure. I remember, I got to work with my fossils and everything, and one day I just it was June. I was doing cancer, my daughter's cancer, and so I thought, oh, here's a pebble crab, and I was looking at this little crab and I took pictures of it, and then I thought, what about Cancer, the numbers? And then I went Cancer, chakras, and the stars. And then I started blending the birthstones, and I was just realizing how, the way the moon is represented for nurturing and that mother energy. And then in numerology, it vibrates a sixth soul, which is nurturing and mothering. And so I just started looking at the vibrations of the number of Cancer, and then I started paying attention to the chakras because I noticed that the stars, the way they had that orange color, that brightest star, the what is it, the Beta Canci, was also kind of orange, and I just started blending all the chakras with the stars and then the birthstones, and I just thought, this is interesting how that all kind of lines up. So I just had fun with it. And so, yeah, it's just kind of neat to see how even with my fossils and my shells, I can see the metaphysical aspects of those things as well. People will buy things and I'm like, oh, you're drawn to abalone. This has to do with cleaning one's aura or being protective or balancing the emotions. It's to remind us of our inner beauty and our, psychic intuition. And, so just depending on what they would grab, it would tell me little things, and so it's like, it's so easy to actually see the connections of everything that's around us. And, somebody, I had to laugh. He choked on a gummy bear at Christmas, and I did the numerology on a gummy bear. And he laughed. Him and his wife laughed so hard because everything that I told him about the gummy bear actually happened that day. And so I'm like, you just can't make some of this stuff up. It's like you weren't being heard, and and the color of the gummy bear was orange, and then so I went into the chakra system of the orange, and it just kept just from him with a gummy bear, and it was just funny.
On this site, on this podcast, but in written form, pardon me, public, if you're offended by obscene words, but we're going to have a section called "You Can't Make This Shit Up."
Yes.
And it comes from years ago. A fellow professional was telling us every now and then, writing little stories on Facebook about you just can't make this shit up. Things that would happen between her and clients, and her and the horses that she works with, things like this. So I said, Julie, we got it. You've got to write those stories for us, or I'm going to go back on Facebook with your permission and steal them. And she said, oh, I'll write them up. I'll keep them updated. You have to write that one up and add it to that drop down. That would be a good one about a gummy bear.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, like that client and the wife just couldn't stop laughing because I practically described everything that he was going through emotionally with that during that time, and exactly pretty much what happened to him at that moment. And it was all because I did the numerology on the word gummy bear.
You got to do it. You got to write the story and add it for us.
Yeah. I'll have to go over it with him again because it's been a while, but I just remember watching them laugh so hard, and I felt like I was out of I didn't quite get it until he explained everything, and it was spot on. It was hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, there's so much. I used to do angel workshops, and the things that would happen was kind of crazy with that too. So
like what?
Well, one time I would do angel workshops, and I would have everybody draw a name of an angel out of a bag. I just collected angels and what they represent, and there was one in there that never got picked. This freaking angel never got picked. And this one guy picked this angel, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you picked that angel. And I said, what do you do for a living? Because this angel's only for people who work in travel of some kind. And he was a bus driver. And he was the only one that picked that angel. It was nobody would ever pick that angel. And that angel was in the bag for, almost 2 years. Nobody pulled him out of the bag until a truck driver found him and pulled him out, and a bus driver. And he goes, oh my gosh, that's what I do for a living. And well, that's your personal angel. But then, sometimes I just talk to them, and they can be so hilarious, making you do things you don't want to do, and you're fussing with them. And, I don't know where the Band-Aids are. They're telling me, take 2 Band-Aids. Like, I'm in a hurry. I don't need 2 Band-Aids. I don't even know where they are. And then my husband telling me, oh, I forgot my sunglasses. You never forget your sunglasses. I'll go in and get them. I go in to get his sunglasses. There's a box of Band-Aids. And I said, funny. I'm grabbing the 2 freaking Band-Aids. They're in my purse. Are you happy now? And I forgot about them. And at the end of the day, we're in San Antonio doing, we lived in Austin, but we were in San Antonio for the Six Flags. And it's already the end of the day. I totally forgot about those 2 freaking Band-Aids that they made me carry. And I'm walking out. We're done. And there's a lady in front of me. And where your tennis shoes rub right at the back of your foot?
Yeah. On that angel, on that art. Yeah, I know what you're talking.
Oh, I looked down, and both of them were bloody. She had gotten blisters, and it was bad. And I tapped her on the shoulder. I said, "Oh my God, that looks so painful." She goes, "Yes, I'm trying to find 2 Band-Aids." I go, "Oh my God." Here you go. I happen to have them. You know, you know, we don't always listen to our angels. And sometimes
yeah.
our angels know where we're gonna crisscross. And she probably was told, "Don't wear those tennis shoes," but they matched with your dress, but you want to wear them. So you fight and you say, "No, I'm not gonna wear, you know, I'm not listening to you. I've got to wear these shoes because they look so cute with my outfit," or whatever. and and then she doesn't listen to her angel, so her angel had to talk to my angel and say, "Guess what? Those guys are gonna cross. Make sure your person brings 2 2 Band-Aids." And so I had to listen to my angel because she didn't listen to hers, you know? And so I tell my clients all the time, we all have angels, and they don't have a physical body. And the only way that they can help us is to work through us and with us so we can be there for their people. And so, yeah. So, yeah, there's so many crazy stories, but they're so fun.
When you're talking about angel, you're talking about the major, what I call the major angels, like Raphael and Gabriel, and
Yes, yes.
yeah, good.
Some are spirit guides, but a lot of them are angels, and we're born with a certain group of angels that we work with. Some of us are born at different times, and there's different angels that vibrate at different times of the day, the hour, the month. The zodiacs have angels, and so you can crisscross these time frames, and you can literally see what angels you were born with at any given time, and which angels you were meant to work with. And you might just be working with one of the phylums, like the powers, or the seraphims, or the archangels. And because when we're through, then we're going to be on that side, and we're going to be working with these angels, not as angels, but as spirit guides. And we'll be learning now so that when we go to the other side, we could become those spirit guides that will help these angels and these phylums to help people that need them, to listen to and to help guide us. And so that's kind of where that comes from, and then there's different days of like if you were born on a Sunday, well, that would be Michael, Wednesday is Raphael, and so on, So there's personal days, there's time frames that these angels come and go, and you can literally like pick any day of the week or any hour, and you can kind of pay attention to what's going on, and you can literally see these angels at work, and it's kind of amazing.
I have to do more research on that. But folks that are listening, the thing that has struck me a lot about Diane, I'm going to talk about you now, is that she's built on the history of knowledge that she started years ago. When I asked her a while ago if there was something that she would add to her toolbox, she responded with, but she explained that she continued to learn. So she has stuck with what she trusts and feels good about, and has not been drawn to something totally new, but yet adds new things to what she already knows. I hope that made sense.
Yes.
And I find that invaluable, because it's important for the public to know that we don't just stop learning as practitioners. We're like anybody else in any other profession. The more we do, the more we learn, the more we can help other people. And that includes our personal lives, the experiences that we have. One of the things I've noticed about not just me, but other psychics as well, practitioners, is that sometimes you get 5, 6, 7 people that have all gone through the same thing, let's say in 1 month. Or you may get somebody that is going through, or they've just filed for that divorce, or they've just had that surgery, and then all of a sudden we're either just out of that ourselves, or we're facing surgery, or see what I'm saying here? People come to us to teach us, and we don't even know it sometimes.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's important for the public to know. We are human as well, but you so respect and depend on and appreciate the knowledge you already have from a past life. You've brought it forward and you've added your other interest at the same time. You know, Diane, it would not surprise me at all if at some point, maybe several lifetimes in a row, you were not allowed to learn. You maybe did, but kept it to yourself, but you were not, for some reason, allowed to learn or use what you did learn. So this lifetime, things that interested you, now you can, and you have all these volumes of libraries. I'm going to sneeze.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
bless you.
That's something for Dean to edit out.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's, I find that with other practitioners as well. They either stick with something they were forbidden, or they're so appreciative of having it, they use it. And for some reason, I'm feeling that from you. You're adding, as you get older, you continue to add. But for you to go all the way back to archaeology days, which is what you did, and move forward by adding. I mean, you mentioned something early on about, I think we were talking earlier about Fred Astaire. That's your dancing stuff. We talked about your dancing, and you put yourself in a position with experts like Fred Astaire. You found a way to learn from the best of the best and be around martial arts, even though you don't consider yourself that. You're so humble, but you are a black belt. I mean, if you can beat 3 black belts, honey, you're a black belt. That's all there is.
I didn't beat them. I just managed to stay standing.
Well, to me, that's a win-win. You're so little, they could have crunched you. Lord.
Well, that's where you learn how to, hit them right on the side of the knee, just enough to make them buckle to get to your size.
See, you learn the tricks of the trade. We all have trades that we need to learn.
Yeah.
Where do you go from here? At this point in your life and this point in your career, you've raised a child. She's out on her own now. Did she get married?
Yes. Yeah, 5 years now.
Oh my God. Has it been that long?
Yeah. Yeah.
I still have more Halloween stuff to give her.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Her daughter is a Halloween queen.
Yeah. She used to stay curled up underneath at the fair. She would sit and lay down underneath the table while I was doing meetings. Visit with Kramer and you and everybody else. Yeah. She grew up with it.
There's so many of us that are of this age now, where we have children, grandchildren, grown, and some of us great-grandchildren. Yeah. And they hang around, and other people, they get to grow up with the other, they used to call backstage kids. Since my mother was a performer, I can say that. My mother and my dad both, I was a backstage kid, literally going to sleep in the trunks, the staging trunks. But it's the same thing in this career. We all travel together. Well, not all, but some of us. Kramer and Linda Drake, her husband used to drive, Yanni Brewer. Yes. And we traveled.
Yes.
We went to Colorado, Oklahoma, Arkansas. We traveled all over Texas. So we got to see each other. Diane, even though she lived in Austin, we didn't get to see each other very often. We'd see each other out of town more often than we did in town. When we were all traveling to Midland and Odessa and God, I don't even remember where else. Lubbock.
Well, that's the farthest I ever went, and that was because Glenn took me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not much. I always felt like, I'm going to be wherever the universe wants me to be. I didn't want to go to this bookstore. I was forced to go. I was there yesterday, so pissed. I had to go back for what I didn't know. and pissed because there was a lady looking at all the numerology books and she was in my way. and then found out that she'd been looking all over for a numerologist and couldn't find one. And that's why I was sent to go back to the bookstore the next day when I didn't want to go, So wherever you need to be, they'll find you. So you don't, that's why I don't really put myself out there. They just, the right person that needs you is going to find you, one way or another.
My grandmother told me that years ago as a kid, and I believed her because she and Grandpa lived in Pendleton, Texas, which is a dot on the road even now on the map. But it had its heyday, and my family owned a good bit of family out there, a good bit of land, ranchers. I mean, it was a good piece. And she did her work too. But she always said, you don't need then business cards were called calling cards. You don't need a card. You don't need to advertise. If you're good at what you do, people that need you will find you.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. She called me the family nickname. And when I would, even as a kid, when I would worry about something I wanted to accomplish, she'd say, just be good at it. Just be good at it. That was her attitude towards everything.
That's amazing.
Just be good at it, whether it's baking cakes, which she was good at, and good enough to sell. So, you get the idea. I don't care what it is. If you're good enough in the highest mountain, in whatever cave, if you're good at it and you're needed, they'll find you. Period.
Yes.
That's just all there is to it. And you mentioned casually a while ago countries around the world. Well, obviously, you're internationally known. But people could say, I've never heard of her. Well, you didn't need to.
No,
but these other people did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite is a lady in Scotland lost my phone number. And since I don't advertise, she got pissed. She couldn't find me. And unbeknownst to me, her best friend lived in Paris. And since she was my client too, she was able to call her friend in Paris to get my phone number, because I just, not found anywhere unless you have that phone number. So she finally tracked me down. Yeah.
It's interesting too that so many, once we get to a certain age, or we've done this for long enough, there are reasons for some of us to kind of fade in the background. And we end up reading only a certain amount of time, or teaching or mentoring a certain amount of time because we're busy with other things. Or, as one person told me a couple of months ago, when you've read for everybody on the planet that needs you, then Spirit will have you doing other things. It's like we've paid our dues, paid our karma, taken care of the people we were supposed to.
Right.
And if you don't need to advertise, which you certainly don't, they will find you like your Scottish client did. They'll find you when there's a way. But then there are the newbies that are really excited about getting started. And because we live in the kind of technical world that we do today, there are all kinds of ways of advertising. Yes. And getting attention, which is great. It's absolutely great. And this podcast is not based on that, although it is doable. People will say, oh, I've got to have a reading from Diane. How do I reach her? So how do we reach you, Diane?
Oh, I just have my cell phone number that I've been using for the past 30 years. Just
will you share that with the public? Will you share it with the public?
Sure.
What is
it's area code 512-797-3167.
Say it again.
Area code 512-797-3167.
Now, when you hit on the button to listen to this, what you hit on probably looked like a business card. That phone number will be there. Diane, you don't have a website, do you?
I do, but a client made it years ago, and I never in fact, she's the one that lives in Paris. And I never went back in there, so I'm not too sure how to fix it. It's supposed to be real easy, but I'm very lazy about that. So
That's okay. If people can reach you by a phone number, that's sufficient.
yeah.
Now, listening to that, you probably do not, I'm sure you do not, have a site where people can in advance schedule a reading for you, a scheduler. So, listeners, don't go looking for that. If you want to connect with her for classes or readings or charts, which is what a numerology chart would be, would to do that, you're going to have to call and be patient. She checks her phone number quite often, but she also lives a pretty busy life in spite of the fact that she's not doing this full time. She has other responsibilities. So if she doesn't get back with you in 24 hours, if you haven't heard from her in 72 hours, well, then I would give her another call, but give her some time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just let
okay.
me know that they're interested in, because you get all this spam too. So just leave a little message and I will definitely call back because the phone does ding. Unless I'm on the dance floor, then it'll be the next day.
She does make time for her passion, at least one of those passions.
Yeah.
If I lived in San Antonio, I'd be horning in on your dance nights.
Oh, yes, definitely.
In spite of our age difference. But so with your tools today, you're satisfied with your tools. They're growing and becoming stronger and stronger. You're satisfied with your life in terms of keeping in touch with your daughter and taking care of your mom.
Yes.
And where you live. So you're pretty content with your career and life balance right now?
Yes, I would say so. I many times I wanted to quit doing this, when my husband had passed, but Alan Arkin was one of my best clients and he would call me every time I would say I didn't want to do it anymore. It was like the universe had some kind of connection with me and him that if I said those words, he would call me. And so because of him, I'm still doing this. And I notice now most of the people I read are people that didn't know they did psychometry or didn't know they were psychic or needed to come out of the shadows and start practicing. It seems like that's my biggest clients or those that are ready to come out and learn more.
I think I almost said as we get older, but, and I will say that, but I was talking a while ago about us fading into the back and learning to do other things or letting other things happen. And I think that's important with some of the people you may be reading for. They suddenly have time. They feel like they can do it, whatever it is. And I think that's important to respect and help them come out of not their shell necessarily, but although that is a lot of times, pardon the pun, considering you carried around a shell when you were out. And you are introverted. I know you are a little shy, but I do think as we get older, and other responsibilities are taken care of, or in some ways we feel like we have time and we can, pick up that other book or take that class or go to that lecture, go to that psychic fair, see who else is there and see what interests you.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too. Yeah, but we are found by the people that need us, no matter, I don't do a lot of readings anymore.
Yeah. I think it's time for us to start sharing what we know.
Yeah. With that, I think that's why Spirit's kind of has pushed me into these podcasts and the development of the Tarot educational site. I think that's really important for people to have a place to go. So many people are still reluctant to walk into a metaphysical bookstore. I get tickled at some psychic fairs and we joke about this, and there's no offense intended, whoever's listening to this. We always know that Sundays are later to get started to be busy. We usually start an hour later, still close at the same time we closed on Saturdays, which is usually 6:00. But it's because they go to church, go to lunch, and come to the psychic fair. Well, you know how many religions do not approve of psychic energy. but we kind of chuckle about it because sometimes the people would walk in and they look around like, do I know anybody here?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And they'll sit down at the table and then they'll lean in so people can't see their faces.
Yeah.
And when I'm taking pictures at psychic fairs or other events, I'm very careful about not taking pictures of people's faces. And I know that sounds funny, but sometimes, let's say you would want a picture of yourself doing a reading or the way your table is set up or your sign or something. But I'm going to make sure that that person's face is not obvious at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even had other people stand behind a client
Mm-hmm.
so that their body structure can't be recognized.
Oh.
There are some people who are so afraid, or they'll walk in and say, is Diane Parma here? And then rush to that table, get a reading and get out.
Yes.
You know, they're so focused on that. And years ago, I had a lady stop at my table and she was looking for Kate Brown. And I said, she's on the other wall. And she said, oh, really? All the way over there? I said, what? Yes. And I said, are you in a hurry? And she said, well, sort of. And I said, why don't you have a seat? I'll go get her business card. And she looked physically relieved.
Oh.
And I got the card, noticed that Kate's was really booked pretty much for the afternoon.
Uh-huh.
And I came over and told her that, and I handed her the card and she said, thank you. And she left.
Yeah.
Just left. And I thought, poor baby. I hope she gets, and this was a woman probably in her 60s.
Yeah. Some people just aren't comfortable with it. It's a lot of past life issues too, you know.
Well, and in today's world, we've got religions that are just
in fact,
not accommodating.
Yeah, I did a big event once, and it was a church group, and I'm packing up, ready to walk out the door when one of the church members called me and said, we're a church group. We're not going to be accepting of this, and you should not show up. And I'm like, I already committed. I told the reverend I'd be there. She's the one that wanted me. I can't back out at the last minute. I'm like, my car's already packed. I was the most popular thing there. They had people kind of guarding me. It got so overwhelming and crazy. And I thought, now what if I had to listen to that woman, saying nobody's going to accept you because this is a Catholic, or I don't know what religion it was, but it was, we don't believe in this stuff. And she was the only one that didn't.
Yeah. And yet the Catholic religion, the old Catholic tools.
Yes.
And Jewish people tend to be the most compassionate and understanding because in their history, they realize that this is where their religion started.
Right. Yeah, it did.
Yeah. In many ways, it is.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus said, as he's doing healing work, I am a master Reiki practitioner. As he's doing healing work, he said, you shall do this and more.
And more.
And more. I mean, Jesus said that. Hello.
With that in mind, there is a book out there. A book. It's called The Bible and the Tarot.
Oh.
I love that book. And right now, I was looking on the shelf for it while you were talking. I can't remember the author, but it is a really eye-opener for a lot of people that have religious challenges when it comes to any metaphysical subject. But astrology and numerology have been around. Reiki,
yes,
have been around for thousands of years. Science, astrology and numerology are technically sciences.
They are.
Technically, yeah.
In fact, it's interesting to note too. I use a regular playing deck because I have lawyers and doctors that will do readings, and the tarot cards might be a little too over the top for them. And I just got used to using the regular playing deck. But did you know that the playing deck was actually used as a Bible?
I didn't know that. I knew it was used for divination.
Yes. But, a lot of soldiers would use, and you know how the death card started is because it was one way to scare their enemy. But but if you think about it, the Jack of Hearts is the Christ card.
Yes.
Mother Mary is the Queen of Hearts. You know, John the Baptist, that is the Jack of Spades. So, I mean, back in those days when they didn't have a Bible, they actually used the playing cards as a way to remember the, you know, to use it as a Bible.
You know, years ago, I remember hearing a deep-throated male on a record that my dad had, that had somebody else had done it originally, and then he recorded it right around to be released right around Christmas time, and it was about the deck of cards, but it came from World War II.
Yes.
And it was a man, he was telling it as somebody who was praying on the field, on the battlefield. I know it's still out there somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
Yeah, it made me cry. First time
Yes.
Dad played it, it made me cry. I thought it was just beautiful. It really is beautiful. Public, if you can find it, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was a reference, just like you're talking about. This card means from this Bible. It was all about the Bible as such.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. If you're interested, public, we are drenched in history, and many of it, most of it, I'd say 99.9% is absolutely, you can find the foundation. There's so much history in the tarot card. There's nothing to be afraid of. Astrology, numerology, they involve all religions practically.
Mm-hmm.
The Rider-Waite is what I teach, and the only reason there's a lot of history in that, but the regular playing cards, same thing. You know, some people don't play games with the cards because they're considered sacrilege, and that's probably why.
Yeah,
just regular playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
They're gaming, therefore they're bad. You can play poker with them and win or lose, so therefore they're bad. It's a sin to play with cards. When in reality, they're ancient. They're an ancient tool. So look at it, people. Look at our history. Don't be afraid of it. There's nothing to be afraid of. Diane, is there anything you want to add to this first conversation? And I say public because Diane is, as she can find the time, she's going to do some more recordings with me about, I'd call them mini classes of her choice when she has the time.
Yes.
We'll have some other things on here. You'll be notified as such. It'll be on the site.
Okay.
So, but for now, is there anything that you would like to add or say?
No, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to share something I'm passionate about, and to let people know it is not scary. We watch the news to find out whether we take an umbrella or not take an umbrella.
I agree with you there.
Like, oh, you just predicted the weather. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? No. Do you want to get wet or stay dry?
That's the Three of Swords. It's a big red heart with the swords poking through it. That can be a weather card.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's Three of Swords.
All we're doing is helping each other to be aware of the emotions and the feelings that we're feeling, it because there's a reason for it. You know, it's our instinct. It's our spiritual knowledge of what we know deep down, what we should be doing. And we're just confirming it for you. So that way you don't have to second guess yourself or, worry about it, or, know that this opportunity is coming. So go for it. Or, that's all it is. It's just helping you to see your gifts and what you're capable of doing and going for it. No?
Yeah, what you just said is so important. Regular gifts and going for it.
Yeah.
I tell people, even if you can learn enough to help yourself and your family and friends. Nobody says you have to be a professional. Nobody says you have to charge for money. Nobody says you have to do exchanges of any sort. Just share the information.
Yeah. And it could just be as simple as, oh, I had this dream the other day, or I thought about you the other day. I mean, you're just sharing with a friend. And yeah, it could be a reading, but at the same time, it doesn't have to sound like a reading. It's just sharing.
Amen. I cannot thank you enough, Diane. Thank you for your time. I know I know you're a busy lady, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being part of this early launch. I appreciate your trust and your confidence in what we're doing here. I want to thank you again and tell you to have a great year. We're just beginning this year. This is February the 3rd, 2025. Where did January go? Yeah.
Well, thank you. I love you. You've always been a strong presence, and you've helped so many people. And it's just another way that you're reaching out to help more people. And I appreciate you for that.
Thank you. I'm just so excited about sharing all of the people that I have in conversation, that they're willing to help the public, with these conversations. I just am so appreciative of the trust. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to say you take care of yourself. Thank you, public, for being with us. We so appreciate your time and your energy. If you need to contact either one of us, please do. You've got Diane's phone number. If you lose it, call me. I'll give it to you. Take care of yourselves. Thank you very, very much for being with us.
Thank you for tuning into the Conversations with the Ancients, where we take you on a journey where you'll hear voices of metaphysicians from the past, as well as today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Remember to visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Conversations with the Ancients.